I deal with the Child Protective Services, and we see Child Protective Services, at least in the United States, as overworked, underpaid, and they want the simplest answer possible. So a great deal of what I've done is deal with the medical aspects. A German national couple in the United States, their child had gonorrhea. They're going to take the baby away from them. The pediatrician says gonorrhea is always from sexual things. Well, it's not. They got to me, we get the medical literature saying gonorrhea can be from sexual, but also can be just from solutions. That's the way gonorrhea works. We got him off. A 13-year-old girl went on a bicycle, was in the hospital having surgery for a fractured ankle. The nurses noted her perineum was red, the bottom was red. Why they were looking at the bottom, I don't know, but they noticed that and called CPS. CPS came up and said, aha, it's a stay-home father. He must have done something to her, took the kid away. Well, when you investigate a little bit, the kid had been on a 27-mile bicycle ride, a 13-year-old girl, the day of this redness, which is an obvious answer. It was a simple thing. I did the standard training for OBGYN. I'm board certified. I'm an American college, all those good things. I stopped learning OB, and a lawyer in Southern California called me and said, would I do a case, a sexual abuse case? And I said, no, I don't do that. He said, well, he said, I want you to do that. I said, why did you call me? He said, well, two lawyers in my community know you from malpractice and say you're fair and you're right. And when you get compliment like that, you've got to do something. So I said, I'd look at the case. And it turned out, listening to the police report, I didn't know police could lie to the complaining witness, besides lying. They lied to anybody else, but it's okay. The girl said was a 17-year-old challenged girl who came home to her challenged mother, to her not a challenged mother. What do you call it? She's living in a not in a home, in a foster home, and had some bleeding. The mother called the police. They arrested the kid. Well, long story short, it turned out it was a challenged mother, challenged girl having intercourse with a challenged boy and doing it badly. And I'm like, gee, this is kind of neat. I was able to contribute something of interest. And I got started doing these cases. And once you claim to be an expert, you got to become an expert. So you got to join all the different things that are exciting: pediatric adolescent gynecology, American Professional Society of Abuse of Children, etc. And since I got involved, I've done 100 trials. I've been retained in 30 American states. I've been retained in New Zealand, Sweden twice, Canada several times. I've done testified trials in Canada. I've got a case going in Germany now. So I've really done a fair amount of work in the field. And the Child Protective Services, which is subject to today's conference, is something I am involved in. And our view of them as overworked, etc. But we have to deal with them, and therefore you have to. And that's my only real point, is that they're going to give you the simplest possible answer for them, the one that solves the problem, and they will take the kid away or not. That's not my issue. I can't deal with that. I only can dealing with the issue. Is the kid injured? Is it not injured? And how is it injured? And that's really my task. And that's it's a simple task. It's very straightforward. It's not always that simple to do, but the concept is. And that's what I've done. And the one example like that was from Atlanta, a affluent, older woman, married couple, sent Christmas card baskets out every year as a gift and left her card in it. A year later, 6 months later, she gets a call from a hospital. One of the recipients has dropped her 4.5-year-old daughter off and given it to her, given the child to her. Her kids are already grown, but she says, I'll deal with this. and gets the state to say this kid is disturbed and we'll help you with it. Shortly thereafter, the child has a severe bleed. The child is a self-injurer. That's one of the major problems the child has. And goes to the hospital, has to have 2 surgeries. And they finally decide that the bleeding had to be because the mother did it. The reason the mother did it, in Child Protective Services, our experience is if something bad happens, dad did it. If the only way mother did it is if dad's out of town. So in this case, dad was out of town, so therefore mother did it. Anyway, I got involved and was able to show in a hearing that the injury was much more likely caused by the child, who admitted sticking her finger in the tutu, she called it, and that the mother really hadn't done anything other than take care of the kid. We convinced the hearing, and they gave the mother back the child. Now, here's not her child, she's raising it, and that was the result. The good part of all this was that 3 months later, the lawyer called me from Atlanta, a lovely lady, and said, I just wanted to come and tell you that it's been 3 months now. The mother demanded the therapy promised by the state, and they have counseling every single day of the week, every day of the month. And the child has done well, and the kid's gonna be okay. That made me feel good. So the issue is you've got to deal with Child Protective Services, understand who they are, and understand what their needs are. Their needs are to solve the case as quickly as possible with any answer they can give. But you've got to look for a medical reason, or if there's a medical reason for the injury, it isn't necessarily caused by the father. It can be caused by other things. That's really the major things I wanted to talk about.